Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Floor 26 podcast. My name is Adam Duffy, and today I am joined by a very special guest. Please welcome Caughy.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. No, thank you for coming on, Caughy. It's really a pleasure. It's been really interesting coming back. This will be our third episode back after a year off, and for two of those episodes, our first one back, and this one, it's been interesting because beforehand we didn't have a lot of like people on the show. It was more so just me and the guys who started it, and these past month or so, I've had like the opportunity to like reach out to like an artist that I really like and ask them to come on my show, and then they come here, and it's like it's an interesting like feeling, So yeah, I'm very grateful to have you here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's really cool to be able to do this kind of thing.
I enjoyed it a lot. So Caughy, the first time I found out about you, it was interesting. I was working for the school newspaper, and I saw your picture in one of our issues. You were like, it was an issue about like fashion in downtown Atlanta,
yes,
and you were like pictured alongside like my editor in chief and like a few other people, and I was like, oh, who's that? Like I just noticed you. I was like, oh, they look interesting, and then it was by like happenstance that I was going through Spotify, and I saw your like profile pop up, and I was like, I recognize that guy, and I was like, and I pressed on it, and I started listening, and I was like, God, this guy's got great music, and
thank you,
and so I thought I'd discovered something, but eventually like I'm having like a conversation with like a few friends. And I bring you up to them, and then they're like, yeah, like we all know who Caughy is, and I was like, oh, cool. So I'm looking
sick, yeah.
So I was like, because I was in a class with like Rachel Nathan and God, like all those people.
Yeah, I love
and
Rachel.
So apparently everyone I knew already knew who you were before I did. So so it's cool. But no. So I've really enjoyed. I really enjoyed your last project. Cosmo, well, the one before your latest one.
Thank you so much.
And I remember being at it was Rachel's birthday party, and I was there with my girlfriend, and then you showed up to the party, and like at that point I like nudged her, and I was like, dude, it's Caughy, oh my god, and she was like, just go up and talk to them, and I was like. No, and so I had to wait as the night progressed, get a little more like liquid courage in me, but then I did, and yeah, that was super cool. But that's just a little intro.
Thank you for those words. That means a lot.
yeah, but yeah, that was just sort of my little like progression into you coming here and sitting down across from me. But yeah, now getting into it, it's been just over 2 months since Luna was released, your first full-length album.
Mm-hmm.
And, tell me about how the reception has been to that. Have you enjoyed the reaction everyone's had so far?
Yeah, absolutely. The reception has been extremely positive. Really, people have just been super kind about the project. It's crazy to think that it has been 2 months since it's been out.
I had to look that up because it felt like longer.
Yeah. I don't even know, honestly. The weeks have been flying by, especially now that the semester's in full swing and everything.
That's true.
And but yeah, people have been very, very kind about the album. It's cool hearing from people that I don't normally hear about and getting their take on the record, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, and one thing that I was really curious about listening to Luna, it's just sort of in comparison to your last similar project of Cosmo. The difference in I think the sound that I noticed between those two projects, Cosmo had was a lot more. I think I'm trying to find the word, like a little lesser, like a little less energetic compared to Luna, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm listening to Luna, I feel like you get a lot more explicit with like your lyrics, and you get more energetic with the sound in general. And I was wondering if like that was a conscious decision to sort of incorporate those elements, or if that was just sort of how it naturally progressed, the sound.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. Honestly, when I think of Luna compared to Cosmo, I definitely think I was a bit more uncomfortable with Luna, as far as like I was just kind of messing around and fucking around and wanting to try different vocal inflections and literally just scream in some of the songs and yell, and just I was definitely I guess, I said I was more uncomfortable, but honestly, in a way, more comfortable with being uncomfortable. I know
Yeah,
that's a weird way to
yeah,
say that,
yeah.
but just like messing around and experimenting. And yeah, I didn't really feel as much comfort. I guess stepping out of my comfort zone. I feel like I'm saying comfort a lot, but in Cosmo compared to Luna,
Yeah,
if that makes
yeah,
sense.
no, that does make sense. That does make sense. That's interesting. And with the screaming, it's the last song in the album where at the end you just start yelling.
Yes, yeah.
Which I always thought was very entertaining. I'm just picturing you like in a studio somewhere, just like standing further back and screaming into a microphone.
Yeah, I was in my room. Yeah, I was about 10 feet away from the mic. I had to make sure none of my roommates were home or anything, and I was yelling. I was honestly surprised I didn't get a noise complaint because it was about 12:30 in the morning when I was doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, your RA comes. That's really good. That's really good. So yeah, then with with some of the songs on Luna, you have like very like sort of bouncy, very like explicit songs like Talk, or I'm trying to think the one that like precedes it, but with that, and you're incorporating like, I guess with that type of subject matter, I don't know, it's always interesting to me, like if I couldn't tell based on just listening to it if like it was like satirical, or if it was like very like if you were being completely like honest about it, just in the sense that I don't know, I just found it interesting. I just saw like there's like a big like
absolutely. There's definitely is a bit more of an explicit subject matter in Luna compared to Cosmo, and I will say that some of it was definitely just having a lot of fun. Having a lot of fun working on it, and like the song that I have with Gothlandistan, who's my good friend CC. We just had a lot of fun making that, and it's again, that was not something that I was comfortable doing in Cosmo, but Luna, I felt kind of like the freedom to do so. But yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So I guess, was it something about how Cosmo was received and how like maybe how you grew from that point to the point that made you more comfortable, or allowed you to be more comfortable in making music?
Absolutely.
Like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'd grown a lot since I'd released Cosmo. Going into the production of Luna, definitely felt much more along the way.
Yeah.
As an artist and everything.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. Funny enough, Luna released right as I was getting back from a trip to Europe.
Oh,
and
cool.
So I was in the Rome airport, and like I the entire like time I was there, I had barely any like internet connection. But finally, when I'm in the airport and I'm like connected to like the airport Wi-Fi, I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see that you released Luna, and I'm like, oh shit, it's finally here. And so as like my flight's like boarding, I'm like playing it and just like listening to it. And I just thought that was like a really funny experience, like sitting there and watching it.
That's
and
awesome.
Listening to it for the first time in Rome. But
it's weird you say that, because actually I went to Italy over the summer as well. And before Luna came out, in fact, I released Moderation as the last single, and I was in Italy when that happened. But I was listening to a lot of the mixes while I was in Italy, so it's kind of weird that you were in the Rome airport and I was also in the Rome airport listening to it. Crazy, yeah.
That's actually really funny. No, but yeah, I have to say that I totally lost my train of thought just now.
No, you're fine.
I've had quite a day. By the way, I'll just mention, like, I think I have to change the schedule of when I record these shows, because Mondays are just like,
it's kind of a brain dead.
It's a killer day.
Yeah.
And it kind of works out because we record these days and then we release them on Wednesdays.
Gotcha.
But and so that kind of works out, but recording on Mondays can be kind of brutal sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But no, sorry. Let me get back on track. When it comes to, your music, I guess two things. One, I'd say I'm unfamiliar with like music like it, like it's like music that might sound like it, or that has inspired you. And I'm wondering, like, what sort of genres and what sort of artists like have helped form like your style of music.
Absolutely, yeah. I will say I really enjoy a lot of different kinds of music, but I would say my favorite kinds of music, probably electronic music, electronic dance music, and I really like indie bedroom pop music as well. I really like the certain aesthetic and charm to bedroom produce songs and records, and there's a lot of artists. I would say in high school I really, really started getting into music, and that's when I started making music. But the first time that I was inspired by music and wanted to get into it was actually in middle school. I have like very strong memories of like being on the bus in the 6th grade and like on the Pandora app on my iTouch listening to like Daft Punk and Deadmau5 and being like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like this is,
Yeah.
that was like the earliest that I was like really discovering music on my own. So yeah, and I love electronic dance music, and I always did. But in high school, I definitely was listening to more indie and bedroom pop. And I feel like honestly, the music that I make now is kind of a hodgepodge of all of it, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I can definitely pick. Yeah, I definitely picked that
Yeah,
up
yeah.
just a little bit. And I'm curious because that's really interesting. And I'm curious because you were just at a show, I think, like two nights ago, right from here. I remember seeing that you had a show on Saturday night.
Yes. Yeah.
And I see all the time that you're just playing like random shows, just every once in a while. And I'm curious, like how have you sort of been doing that more recently, and how has that been for you to go around and perform with like different artists and stuff like that? Like honestly, just from the post you were making about that Saturday show, I started listening to the Corduroy Blue, just like in relation to that. And
yeah, no, it's great doing shows. There is just always something happening in the city of Atlanta, and like I love doing different types of shows. Whether that's I started doing like MC shows where I was performing my music with tracks and like doing the vocals live, and then I eventually got a band together. And we call ourselves, Caughy and the Cosmos. It's like a performance group with me. Yeah. And that is a lot of fun, to have like a group of musicians help bring, these songs to life and kind of, it takes on a new shape. But yeah, the show that I did 2 nights ago was actually, I just did like a DJ set, opening for the bands. And yeah, that was a great time. I really enjoyed doing just different stuff like that. Yeah. I actually have another DJ set going on next Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Sweet. Yeah. And I guess just like when it comes to forming like that, like the little performing group to do that component of like a live show, how'd that come to be? Like, how did you get in touch with like all the people that do that? Because I've seen pictures of all you guys. I know the one other guy I met at that party, Rachel's birthday party.
Spencer, wasn't it?
I think
Spencer
so.
Mavich.
Yeah.
Honestly, how it first started, I wanted to perform with a band for a long time, and I also want. It was about the start of 2022 where I was like, I want to start experimenting with my performance rather than just doing MC style sets, which are fun, but I don't know, I want to incorporate more of a live performance element. And I got a gig to play at the Masquerade in March, and I noticed a lot of other people in the lineup were just full bands, and I was like, I don't want to just go up there and have backing tracks, which would have been fine. It would have been fine, but I was definitely like, I'm gonna try to get a band together.
Yeah.
So I reached out to some people that I knew. Spencer Mavich is just my roommate, plays guitar for me. Reached out to a few other people, try to get members together for a group. We did that for a couple months, and it was a lot of fun gigging with them. I've recently had some personnel changes just because I've come to find out with so many people and how busy musicians are here. It's kind of tricky to have a set roster. So
for sure.
I've been getting some new folks to play with, and I'm going to be playing with some new people in a Battle of the Bands show on the 22nd this month.
Oh yeah, I saw something about that. That's super sweet.
Yeah, very excited. But
yeah, no, yeah, I here, one second. I don't know what's up with me right now.
Are you all right? You feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just fucking like, I don't know. It's been a weird day. Just like you were saying about trying to deal with like people's schedules. It's like I'm the editor-in-chief of the newspaper, and like I have this big team below me, and it's difficult to manage. People were really getting on my nerves today.
Oh damn.
Yeah, they were just not reaching deadlines and stuff like that. But no, it's super sweet. One thing I really enjoyed about going to Georgia State is that you have like this super big network of musicians, of just talented people in general. So you're never at a lack for that. You're never at a loss for that. Yeah. And one thing I was talking about with a guest I had on a few weeks back, Z-Lister, was how great it's been to sort of plug into like the underground rap network in Atlanta and like talk to all these different artists and just have this constant stream of people to help work with you, to inspire you and stuff like that. And I wonder, maybe not along like the same genre or the same group as that, have you been able to find like a solid like network of people? Like, has it been easy to sort of find people that are interested in working with you?
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many different circles and scenes and little, I don't want to say bubbles because it makes it sound like it's not connected, but little groups in the city, and circles of people to meet. And yeah, I've met just tons of people that is really nice to work with. That's, how I've gotten all the bandmates or friends that I've made or people that I've collaborated with creatively. It's really nice to meet so many people, whether it's in a show environment, because that's a very big, social thing. You just meet so many people at shows and stuff. Yeah. Shows or parties. There's a lot going on, and it's a big city. It's a very big city.
Yeah, definitely. And it is so interesting. I mean, it's a big city, but it's a small world. Like, just how many like sort of connections that just me and you have like tangentially is very interesting. Like
Absolutely.
My girlfriend's best friends with Julia Longshore.
Oh wow!
Who and we're good friends. I was at her house yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's
so funny.
Crazy to think about.
And so it's just like stuff like that, and then that's for like I know you. I talked to her about how you have recorded like a few music videos with her, like one at her house. Which I was just at. And I guess that's another element of it. Working with one thing you'll never find a shortage of at Georgia State and at like Atlanta in general is people wanting to work in music videos and films and stuff like that. And so you have no shortage of that. And a few of the music videos that you put out over the from between Cosmo and now has been really interesting. I think the first thing I ever watched of yours or listened to of yours was the music video for Stardust.
Oh, sick!
And that was like a very that's what really like caught my attention because it was such like it was a thing like I had never really seen up until that point. And so I'm curious like for all these music videos and then the ones that you made for Luna, which have been very interesting, good, just like very like definitely like very imaginative.
Thank you.
How has like do you really control that process from like start to finish? About
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love working on music videos. I've been working with my good friend Sophia Reagan since I moved to Atlanta. We met in the dorms, and yeah, we worked on Stardust together, and we worked on several videos since then. Because they also did the Boots and Cats video with me, and we also did the Get Enough visuals together. And yeah, we are very, very hands-on. Like all those videos are like brain babies of just creating ideas. Like especially for Get Enough, we started working on that video in January, and we did not finish that video until July. So we were working on it for a long time. And honestly, like there were times where we would just spend hours just talking about it, not making really any set plans of the video, but just being like, okay, just conceptually, abstractly, what do we want to do here? And it just kind of develops. And yeah, it's really fun. I'm always gonna try to be as involved as I can. To be honest, that's something that's kind of scares me as I continue to keep making visuals with like more people. Because there are a lot of people that want to collaborate on music videos and stuff, but I always just get worried of whether it's kind of like they have a vision that they want to do for a song of mine, or if it's like we're gonna work together to create a vision. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh no, 100%.
Yeah, and it's been
Yeah, the more people you sort of you bring into a certain project, obviously you have more hands and you can increase your scope, but you always have to worry about sort of losing your creative vision.
Absolutely.
I just finished last week. I just for a class assignment that I probably took way too far. I created this I recorded this short film.
Oh, nice.
It's about 10 minutes long, and we spent like 4 full days recording it. And I had we recorded it around here. I had this whole place filled with like 8-10 people, just all with like an opinion as to like how certain things should look. And so it's definitely difficult to sort of keep to what's in your head when you're making something like that. And just in general, I've talked about this before with a few of my friends who are videographers, but just in general, putting what's in your brain onto paper, whether it's music or whether it's film like a music video, like passing it through that filter from like brain to reality, you tend to lose something. It's difficult to create exactly what you want, but
Yeah, it can be very difficult to translate those raw ideas into something. But I will say, with that being said, it is a really great feeling whenever you do have a raw idea like that, and you do see it come to life.
100%, very fulfilling, very fulfilling. It's interesting. I think you were recording it was for the video Get Enough, but I was with my girlfriend, and we were in her dorm at University Lofts, and we have this great view of the parking deck.
Oh, no way. I know exactly where this is going.
Yeah. And so we're just hanging out in her room, and like this group of people begins to gather on the top of the parking deck across the street. And we're like, it's really far away, so we're trying to get a very good look. But then we just see you come out in this brown coat with your bright hair, and we're like, it's definitely Caughy.
Oh my
and then
God.
we just watch for the next 2 hours as like all the people like you record all the people dance around you. It was really entertaining. It was really funny.
I didn't realize that you saw that. That's crazy. Yeah, no, we definitely, we were shooting and we saw, we're like, oh, people like can see us right now. I wonder what the hell they think is happening.
Yeah, and I saw that. I was so funny. Oh God. Yeah, I have a video of it on my phone. I'll have to show you.
Oh, please do. Yeah.
Just like look at them. Look at them. It's right there.
Oh my gosh.
That was really funny to me.
Did y'all know each other at the time when that was happening?
I don't think so. No, I don't know. I don't think so. I think it had just been because I think actually that might have been after that party where we had talked to each other. But no, I just thought that was really funny to me. I just can't. I promise, man.
It's gonna be okay.
Most of the time, I can keep it straight in my head. I can't. And I had all these notes like,
oh no, you're fine. Yeah, no, I totally get it. Yeah.
What's interesting to me is that with your music, it came into it, especially listening to Cosmo at the time when I did. It was very interesting to me because, by the way, my favorite song, both on Cosmo and one of my favorite songs of like the last year is Glass Walls. It's just like it's a very hard hitting song, and like at the time too, it was very interesting because I had just started dating my girlfriend at the time, or girlfriend now, as I say at the time, and I to me at least, that music was a lot about that song was very much about you being like having a person in your life who knows you like more than anyone else does, and like knows like certain things about you, and essentially that your walls are glass, and so I thought listening to that song was very meaningful for me at the time, and I'm curious if that was also like your meaning behind the song, or if there was sort of something else that motivated that.
Honestly, that song is really, really special to me. I think it's one of the best songs that I've made sonically, and also just subject matter wise, and the whole process of it. It's definitely just has a special place in my heart. But yeah, it definitely, a lot of it was written about just being open and vulnerable to somebody. And another aspect of it is definitely just a sense of identity and finding your identity and feeling comfortable with that, and kind of how that was entangled. And yeah, I was in a weird place at the time. I was recently becoming single, and I had told my parents that I identified as non-binary, and I was just feeling a lot of emotions at the time, and I was actually in Savannah during the time when I wrote this song and I started producing it, and it was a very emotional process for me to start the instrumental and write it, because I was away from like my synths and my usual setup, so I was just kind of like doing a demo in Ableton, and then not being able to record it, but like write it down, and like which isn't usually when I'm working on music, I can get it out in the moment. I don't have to wait till a few days later. But yeah,
that's interesting. And obviously like the best music tends to come out of very emotional times like that. And I guess looking back on it, how has finding your identity and working through all the things that come with that, which I can only imagine, has that been really important in your music too?
Oh yes, it always has. From when I think back to my music that I was making in high school, for example, the song Pink and Blue, or I think of the song Glass Walls, or I listen to the music that I make now. I think naturally there's a progression in it, with how comfortable I felt with myself and how I saw myself. And it's kind of cool to listen back to Glass Walls, or to listen back to other music, and kind of hear, I don't know, it's so tied to memories of mine. So it's it's really cool to
Yeah,
listen.
that's really interesting. Like it's kind of like this diary where you can hear that and you can think back to the time that who you were when you made that.
Exactly.
And it's a
Yeah.
little timeline. And you know that happens a lot where actually sure 1 second I just realized. Sorry, I just needed to flip that tab. But like I was saying, I do find it really interesting how well people can tie like certain songs, at least for me, so I can tie certain songs to like very important parts of my life. Like I hear certain albums, I hear certain songs, and like I can vividly remember the period of my life where I first heard it. And I mean that's what happens to me whenever I hear Glass Walls. Is I'm brought back to like that's that one moment just like 4 or 5 months ago when I heard it. But at the same time, I sort of have a similar experience when it comes to this show, because we've been making this show for 2 years now, and I go back through our old episodes sometimes, and like I was 18 when we started it. I was barely 18. I was like a little kid, and looking back at the person who I was, the way I spoke, the ideas I had, it is this little like diary for me to like see like, oh wow, I was really like that 2 years ago.
It's very humbling. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's very humbling. This whole thing's very humbling because putting hours of yourself talking out into the world is a very can be very daunting and very very scary sometimes. And at certain points, the internet can be brutal. It's really funny. I mean, about a year ago, we had, or over a year ago, year and a half ago, we had a very high profile guest on, and we were both, me and my co-host Parsa were both very young at the time, and to have like this pretty he was like a popular YouTuber, and to have him on and to talk about like all the stuff he does, we didn't probably do it. We didn't like we were pretty bad at it, and so the comments on it were ripping into us. And I remember that being a pretty humbling experience. Just like
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was funny though. It was funny. They made some pretty funny jokes. I mean, they were it was pretty bad, but yeah, and it's music's a whole different thing too. This is just sort of rambling, so to speak, but for music, that's a far deeper, I think. You're expressing a far deeper emotional state of yours and putting it out into the world, and that must be daunting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very vulnerable, and which it makes it that much better whenever it's well received.
Yeah,
and when people share that they really like it, or that they really felt it made them feel a type of way, that really means a lot.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that.
It's in there.
It is in here, man. It's I don't know what's up with me. Honestly, it's just
one of those days,
I did. I thought about rescheduling actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because it had been like such a wild day, and I'll be candid about that. It was pretty gnarly. It's I don't know, the amount of responsibility that I feel like I sometimes have can like really weigh down on me. And I'm sure we all have experiences like that, but a lot of the things that I just sometimes I feel like
it's a lot of stress going on.
Yeah,
no, I totally get it.
Yeah, it's all with this like newspaper, having to feeling like I have this responsibility to be constantly having like my ear to the ground and be connected to everything, and be ready to like receive any information and spit it back out into the world. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
I'm constantly like trying to find a balance between the things that like my responsibilities in life and the things that I enjoy doing, because I enjoy doing this and I enjoy doing other things. Like I was editing my short film a lot today, and then there's things that I enjoy doing, but things that I feel like I'm more like, it's not that I don't enjoy them as much, but it's like my responsibility almost, like working for the newspaper. And so I don't know, it's just all about trying to find a balance between the things that you need to do and the things that you want to do.
Absolutely. And it's hard to do that sometimes, especially when you are a student, it's
and I guess touching on that, I think you're the same year as me, like a third year probably. I think you graduated. Did you graduate around here, like around this area?
No, I graduated in Athens, Georgia, or outside of Athens.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I just you just seem to know a lot of people from this very specific area around here.
I do.
So it's just I just thought maybe that you would come up, you had grown up here.
No, it's weird. It's a lot of people that I met in the Commons, which is the dorm that I was in my first year of college. A lot of people came from the suburbs of Atlanta, like these suburbs of like.
This area is like a huge feeder into GSU especially.
Yeah,
I mean, so many people from my high school and like the high schools around me go to Georgia State.
Yeah.
And it's very it's definitely I see people all the time that I recognize. 1 second. I'm gonna take off my hoodie.
Oh yeah. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I never know down here. To me it's either like it's hot and cold at the same time. My extremities are cold, but my core is hot.
Well, I've been down here all day and it's been freezing, and so I've had this hoodie on, and but it's something about like being under the lights and like having to talk that makes you like a lot, heats you up a lot.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So I've been but no, I'm trying to think about more things to ask you about your music, but I don't know. I had this like list of like things I was curious about that I wanted to bring up to you, but really I can't think of any more that I have.
No rush,
which just means, you know, like.
Well, I mean, do you produce it too, or are you just vocals? Or
No, I produce and engineer it myself.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a process for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is a process. Yeah, I actually mixed and mastered all of Luna myself as well, it's something I did for my first project that I put out in high school. It's called Shimmer, and then I had someone else mix and master Cosmo. But yeah, it's definitely a process. We could go and talk about that if that's something you care to talk about.
I'd be interested to see like sort of how you learned that entire process.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been into music production for a couple of years now. I work in a dog called Ableton, and that's really just where I do all of my stuff. I record everything at home. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about just doing that purely? Because I know some people just do certain categories of music versus the whole thing.
Like how do you mean? Do you mean have I thought about just engineering before?
Yeah, or like is there one of those that you'd want to do most?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I really do like engineering, and I'll engineer for other artists. I really like to do masters for people. I'm not the best mastering engineer, but
it's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard. But I do like mastering a lot because you just kind of get to play with knobs for a little bit, and it's very like it's not like you're recording, because I've engineered recording people like while they've tracked vocals or whatnot, and when you're mastering, you don't really have to be social. You're just kind of doing your thing. But yeah, it's a bit of a process. It's honestly one of the reasons why Luna took longer to come out than it could have been, just because I took my sweet time really mixing and mastering it and making sure that it was as good as I could sonically get it. I feel like, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, getting back on Luna, when you're making like all the songs on that, you start production when like maybe 6 months before it comes out.
Yeah, it could be much longer than that, to be honest. Like one of the songs, Moderation, came off the record. I actually started working on that last October, actually to this day, because I got a little memory on my camera roll where I was like, oh
wow,
shoot, I was recording that last October 3rd, which I thought was crazy. So it could for that song it was like 9 or 10 months before it came out.
All sort of pieces together.
Yeah. So it really depends. But on the other hand, one of the last songs I was tracking into May, and then it came out in July. So it was only like 2 month.
Yeah.
Period. So I guess on average, I guess it would be about 6 months.
I'm interested to talk about sort of when it comes to coming up with the idea for a song and then it actually coming out. Sort of how that process fits for you, because I was talking to another artist a few weeks back, and he was telling me how he will always he almost never makes songs like over like a longer period of time. He has to once he comes up with something, he has to make it like right then and there. And it's usually like other people who work with him having to like force him to like sort of slow down the process a little bit. So I'm curious, you know, let's take a song like Moderation, or Talk and stuff like that, and you know how sort of what's your process like for from start to finish?
Yeah. I'll tell you, it feels very random. There've definitely been some slow burns as far as songs that I've worked on. For example, Moderation. Moderation I started demoing in October, and I think I was still working on the production of it around New Year's. I was still like adding to the instrumental, because some of the demos I work on and I'll get a little bit of an idea out, and sometimes it's just like 30 seconds worth of music, and then I'll come back to it. I'm like, I don't really know what to do with this, and that'll be that, or I'll develop it further into a full-length song, or in other cases like the song Talk, it took me probably about 15 to 20 minutes to make my part of that song, and then I gave her CC. I was like, dude, write a verse, you know. And they were in my room listening to the beat for extended amount of time, just it loops and just writing. But as for, you know, and you know, I guess, you know, it's a different process for each song to a certain extent, but a lot of it is definitely just me playing with the synths in my room and making a, you know, some kind of start to an instrumental that I really like, and then it kind of hits a chord, and then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start writing to it. On my first record, Shimmer, I did have songs that I wrote acoustically, that I wrote on guitar or ukulele, and I brought that into Ableton Sessions, and that was a very different process than what I normally do, which is start making instrumentals and then writing to those instrumentals, you know what I mean? And so it's interesting kind of doing that flipped. But yeah, that's usually my process, is usually starting on an instrumental and then writing to that.
So I'm curious, you know, we both go to the same school. Do you study like music production, or is it, or do you have like do you have other interests outside of?
No. I study music management, which is like a music business major. So it's like half music classes and half business classes.
That's pretty smart. That's pretty intelligent.
Yeah.
Very
studious.
Well, it's interesting, you know, and that's something that I thought of when I was going into school, was that I'm really into film and, you know, video production, and I didn't know going into school if it was something that I wanted to necessarily study, like especially like just the creative side of it, because I felt like that was all things that I could develop like on my own over time, and I could spend like the money going to school doing something else that would be more maybe tangible, you know, in quotations, like managing music versus like just like learning like the creative side. You know, when it comes to film, you know, I started as a political science major.
Okay, wow.
And moved to communications, and now I'm a film major. But that took me a while to sort of grapple with that. And but I'm like happy where I am now in terms of what I'm doing. But it's definitely interesting. And you know, was music management something that you knew going in, that not that you wanted to do, but like that you wanted to learn about?
You know, it's interesting you say that, because I went into state. You know, I was, you know, towards the tail end of my high school experience, I wanted to go into state learning music tech. But with how GSU was, I'm not sure if it's like this anymore. I'm not 100%, but the process was that you would have to audition for the School of Music, and you would have to audition and make space into like the studio slots, and then that's how you become a music tech major. And, you know, my primary instrument was saxophone. That was the instrument that I was going to have to audition on.
That's awesome.
Which, you know, I love playing the sax. But I did find out that there was like 2 or 3 slots for undergrad saxophones, and that was including the performance majors. So I was like, oh, fuck, I'm not gonna make it. So that's when I chose to go music business or music management. Because that major was not technically in the School of Music and did not require you to have to audition in that. And it was a bit of a process, and it was a bit of a pivot, but I've come to find out that a lot of people that are music management majors are actually people that are just like me, that are into music tech but did not want to audition for
definitely
the music tech program.
I never knew that's how it worked. Saxophone, that's really interesting. My older brother played saxophone all throughout like high school.
Nice.
He was not great, but like,
damn.
but he would always practice around the house, and I would hear it. And I guess that's interesting. So the saxophone that you use in Milk and Honey.
Yeah.
Towards the end, did you record that yourself?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Tracked it, performed
Wow.
it. Yeah. That's all was actually improvised. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's my favorite part of the song.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's just yeah, it's very satisfying when that part comes out.
Thank you so much.
And that's so funny. Saxophone. I never would have guessed.
Yeah. Yeah. That was actually the last thing I tracked for the record. That was what I tracked that at the middle of May, maybe. Early middle of May.
Yeah. Milk and Honey is it's one of my favorite. One of my, what's the word? It's one of the songs I like most on the track.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I guess that's just me, like liking like sad music.
That song is very sad. Yeah, and that was the most recent song that I wrote for Luna. That was the last song I wrote.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought about putting that song last actually on the track list for a while, but decided to go with Get Enough instead. But yeah, Milk and Honey means a lot to me, and it's very sad.
I think the momentum of the track works where you sort of hit that, not like low point, but like emotional like low point.
Yeah.
In like the middle of the track, but then you go up a little bit.
Absolutely.
I think it's a good structure. I guess Milk and Honey. I guess what's that? If you're comfortable sharing, what's that song like about? Was it something that had happened recently that influenced you to write it, or?
It's weird to talk about, but I definitely I wrote that in February, and I was just definitely in kind of a rough patch as far as like the winter was going, and I felt I didn't feel the best during the time, and that was kind of how I wrote that. It was definitely. It's just a song about not really feeling as much. Because I noticed during the time I kind of felt very docile and very complacent with just my routine, and I didn't really feel like I was as energetic as I had been in the past. And again, there was a lot going on personally in my life, and winter, February is kind of a tough time to be around.
It is.
Yeah.
No, I actually that's what I really liked about the song was that it was sort of about like questioning why you would feel so apathetic, like just like indifferent to life almost, like it's just passing you by. And that's something that I think everyone, and including myself, has grappled with at some point, just feeling like the routine of life is sort of just like becoming like meaningless, and it's difficult to become like an active member in your own life sometimes. So I can definitely appreciate that you put an idea like that into a song, and I think it came out really well.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I think Luna is it's a solid project.
Thank you so much.
I guess on Luna, what do you have a favorite song off of it?
Oh shoot. Honestly, it really changes because I love all the songs.
Mm-hmm.
All the songs mean so much to me. There's some songs that I really like. As far as I think this particular song might be more of what I was actually trying to go for, versus this song I think just sounds sonically better, or I really like the synth work that I did in this, or I really like the little groove to this one. It really changes. I would say some of my favorites, the first song that I made, actually no, I take that back. Not the first song that I released for the record was Shatter, and I really thought that perfectly embodied the sound that I wanted to go for this kind of like darker, colder electronic sound, and with kind of like a lonely, empty, artificial vocal performance, and like, and Moderation was the same thing. I was like, this is definitely what I was going for when I was trying to develop Luna into an idea. But in some ways, Milk and Honey was my favorite song during the tail end of the project, because I heard it the least amount, and it was like the freshest to how I was feeling. But all the songs honestly like hit different points for me. But how about you? Do you have a favorite song on the project?
Just because maybe it's because recently I've Milk and Honey has like really spoken to me recently, because sometimes I feel like it's about to be really dark, but sometimes I feel like recently I feel like all the things that go on in my life, as much as I have expressed that I like am like stressed out today, I just feel like sometimes it just all passes me by, and it all just like goes, and I'm just like going through the works, so to speak, and I don't have any like time to be me. It's just all about like the things that I'm tied to, whether it's this show, whether it's this job, whether it's this project.
Absolutely.
And so that movie that's really spoken to me. But if I'm like, but it does like you said, it kind of depends on like your mood, depends on all that stuff. You know, if I'm trying to be hype, I'll listen to like Talk or something like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
one thing I also liked about the album was that and this is one of my favorite things that any artist can do on a album is like have all of the ends to a song sort of tie into like the beginning of the next song. It's a very simple thing. It just adds like this momentum to every song, and it's really nice. Like obviously like the overture like goes well into the first song, which is Shatter, right?
Yes, yeah.
But then like what Talk sort of fades into
Strange is the next song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just like it's like a neat trick. It's one of those things where, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's like an easy thing to do because you do have to do that intentionally. But it's like but I think it's a simple thing that kind of helps really amplify the sound of like an overall project.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really appreciate that you like that, because I was definitely thinking about that for a while, and I wasn't totally sure. I was kind of stressing out for a while because I was like, is it gonna translate on the streaming services?
That's always
you know what I
worry.
mean? Is this something gonna happen where it doesn't? Because I got in the headspace of like, well, if it doesn't connect perfectly, I'd rather just not be there than it be kind of there and be kind of an awkward moment. But yeah, definitely, it's been on my bucket list to do that, and I definitely want to get to the point where I make a whole project that is seamless, even in a manner of like from the end of it going back into the start of it. Like, so I definitely want to move into that direction. Arrangement.
I always think that's like super cool. It's just that, as well as like having a lot of intention behind like the order of the songs on the project.
Absolutely.
Like those two elements that are sort of like definitely tied into the process, but sort of outside of it, like that can add to the overall creativeness to a project. I think is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And super cool. And I guess speaking about wanting to do that in the future, in the last we have 3 months left in the year. Do you have any more like music planned in the future? Like, what do you got coming down the pipe?
Honestly, I have not been doing a ton of music making. I have a few demos that I'm sitting on, and a few of which that I'm really excited about and probably plan on releasing. But for the most part, I've just been kind of just having fun and seeing what I can do, because I'm not exactly too sure or too married to any of my ideas of what direction I want to go into for this next project that I want to work on. Because part of me wants to keep moving in one direction, and part of me wants to completely move in a different direction. And not that I feel like I have to pick one, but I've definitely just been thinking, okay, what is the next move? So yeah, it will probably be a while before my next release. I definitely have some features coming out though. I don't have any dates off the top of my head, but I do have some verses on people's songs that will be coming out soon. I'm really excited about those.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after like a big project comes out like that, I mean, it's only understandable to like kind of rest on your laurels a little bit. And just sort of enjoy life. And, that's pretty awesome. With it, God, it's been getting like cold way fast. Yeah. And I can already sort of feel like the fall energy beginning to set in.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see because it felt like it was hot for so long.
Yeah, definitely. And I really love fall. In fact, October is always like the month. The last few years, that's been the month that I make like the most music. Like a good chunk of Luna was made last October. So like I'm excited to just, I don't know. This is like, I really like this time of the year when it starts getting chillier, but it's not unbearable.
We're not like exactly. It's like because definitely like seasonal affective disorder does hit, and that hits in like January and February. But like before you've gotten tired of the cold.
Exactly.
Like the early weeks. That's the best part.
That October, November, December run, it's a good time. It's a good time.
I do wish that it had gotten colder just a few weeks later, because for this short film I'm making, in it I have to be in my pool in the backyard twice.
Oh my gosh.
And it was, and both times, one I jumped in at like 3 a.m, the other time I did it at like 6 a.m, so right as the sun was coming up. Both times it was like fucking freezing. It was just really funny, because the whole day on Wednesday when we're filming, we start at like 4 o'clock, and I know that the last thing we record is going to be is me jumping in the pool, because that's the because I'm not doing anything after that. That's when I go to sleep. And so the entire day I was like in the back of my head, and I'm like just like waiting and dreading to get to it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you're freezing.
And then the last scene, like I'm standing on the diving board, and I have to just flop in like that, no like reaction given, and like I had to spend a solid 5 minutes just like, whew, you got this, you can do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, you did it, you know.
Yeah, and it came out pretty well.
Nice.
So-
Okay, that's
so
what matters,
that
you know,
does- that
for the
does.
craft.
Anything for the shot, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Have you, making music videos? Have you had any have you had to do any like crazy things or like things that like most difficult? Because I'm looking back, I'm thinking back at your music videos, and I'm thinking about some scenes that might have been interesting to get. Smashing a cake into your face.
Yes, that was definitely a lot. That was a lot. When we were recording that, we were actually at Sophia's grandparents' house, and it was just like midnight, and they were trying to go to bed, and we were like trying to wrap up as fast as possible. And I remember like I had to smear it over my face and stuff, and our friend Libby, who was playing like the love interest of the video, was there, and she was laughing her ass off. And I'd be like, Libby, please leave the room because I can't laugh. I have to look really serious. But yeah, because I'm not an actor in any kind of way, really. But you do have to like perform certain in visuals. But yeah, it's a lot. There was a shoot that I had in, it must have been like April, or it might have been March at the time. For a shoot for a music video for Moderation, which didn't come out, but I had to get in a pool at the time, and it was still cold as hell during the time. So I totally feel you. I was in the pool at like 1 a.m, and it was freezing. Yeah, it's for the shot.
Yeah, it's for the shot. You got to do what you got to do. And the same thing was like I'm trying to, and the entire time I'm like, the whole premise is that of the short film is that this guy finds out he can't sleep and he dies like a week later from that. And so the process of him like going crazy from that ends in him falling into his pool in this like hallucinogenic trip and then drowning. And so I'm having to be very like crazy and like geeked out the entire time while like everyone's and like my girlfriend's there, my friends are there, and they're all like laughing at me, and I'm like, guys,
yeah, you have to perform, focus. You know,
and then like trying to fall into the pool and make it look like I'm like dying as I do so, and having people like egg me on when I do it. It was really funny. It was really hard not to laugh. And it's also impossible to like fall just straight into like a pool like that without giving any reaction. In the actual shot, I end up like right before I hit the water, I end up putting my arms out. It's like something about your brain just does not allow you to do that.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah. No, it's kind of hard to go against those kind of feelings, those reflexes and whatnot.
And then one scene I remember that I'm curious about how you guys did it. In Stardust, you have this scene where you're at like a MARTA station, I think, and you throw up on the ground.
Yes. Yes.
How do you record that?
It's funny you mention that because I was actually thinking about that the other day. Definitely another time where I had to be uncomfortable physically for a shot. Yeah. It was soup that I had to keep in my mouth. And I think we did I can't remember how many takes we did of that, but too many takes of that. It was definitely uncomfortable, but again, it was for the shot.
You know what? And fucking praise be to you, I guess, for doing that. So you just have to take like this cold can of soup, take a chunk, take a mouthful of it, and hold it there.
Yeah, and it was
that's gnarly.
And honestly, it was kind of nice because I didn't really have to act as much by throwing up and revolting.
Get this out of my mouth.
I was like method acting, just throwing up. Yeah. I was actually grossed out. But,
Oh God, that's hilarious. And that's what's something that's been interesting to me, and it's like this thing I've found out recently about myself. Because I've been the editor-in-chief of the paper for like 2 months now, or at least however long school started in a little bit of change. But I've been doing that, and it's like, I've enjoyed it, and it's like been a really difficult process. And I've been chugging through that, and that's just what I thought was like what I really wanted to do, and what was like the thing that I really enjoyed doing. It wasn't until I recorded this short film that I remembered sort of what brought me here, like what got me to this point, and because I was thinking about it, how working on getting like a newspaper out every week is very tiring, very exhausting and stuff like that. And I'll work maybe like 15, 20 hours on it a week. But then the same amount of time, like the 15, 20 hours I spend on recording this between like 4 days, that even the day where we spent like a solid 12 hours filming, that went by like almost nothing. And it made me think about how the quote, I forget who it's from, but like if you enjoy your job, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
It made me think about how there are certain things that while I might enjoy and while I might be good at like all these different types of things, there are some things that truly can speak to you and can feel like no matter how much work you do in it, won't burn you out, it won't tire you out, as opposed to other things. So that's something I kind of thought about recently.
So a lot to be said for that, you know?
Yeah. And that's honestly like, I remember one time, like it was really late at night and it was our last week's newspaper issue. It was the first one of the semester. And, like we finally get it done and finished. And like, I just like sit down and I think about like my week and, I'm like out driving and I put on like Milk and Honey as I'm listening to Luna and like I was like listening to that song. It's like I hear the lyric like, why can't I feel a thing? I was like, God damn.
Shit, yeah.
It was really interesting to me. But no, there's a lot to be said there, and there's a lot of it's very interesting thing that I'm still like sort of grappling with and balancing with.
Absolutely, yeah, no, definitely same here. That was what was put a lot into that track or into that song particularly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, outside of music, you know, like, do you have any other, you know, passions of yours? You know, because interestingly enough, I was talking to another artist when I had Z-Lister on. You know, I'm talking to him about his music and stuff like that, and then he busts out that he's like also like this like wicked good like programmer who like designs websites and works in like NFTs and stuff like that. And it was just a total like 180, like totally out of nowhere kind of thing. So I don't know if you have any secret little.
No, I don't know if any secrets on that level. I really, as far as hobbies and everything go, and interests and passions, I really like fashion. I really like going thrifting with friends and like seeing what we can do with pieces and stuff. Or I really like playing sports with friends as well. I play basketball with my friends a lot, and it's a very nice physical release.
Yeah, I know that's always the best. I mean, it's sometimes you forget how simple things like exercising and doing like physical activity can drastically improve like your mood or like your life at large.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I try, especially when it's like warmer outside, I try to like do as much like physical activity as possible, and I find it like definitely makes me feel better. But I have this terrible thing where during winter, when I probably should do that most, I end up doing that the least. And I'd end up like kind of like hibernating. So
yeah, it definitely gets harder to be outside, and it, you know, because it gets colder, you just feel sluggish.
Yeah,
and it's harder to move. You know?
my favorite thing to do, my favorite like physical activity to do is like swim, and that's it's very difficult to do. In the winter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although getting in at 6 a.m, and not only did I have to get in at 6 a.m. when I was filming, but I had to do it with the same clothes that I'd been wearing last time we filmed in the pool. So like I had washed them and all that, but like I had to wear like shoes and like sweatpants and like a shirt, and I had to just like walk into my pool. And it was just like the most daunting thing.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that was really funny. I'll have to show you the video of it.
Please
like,
do, yeah.
I'm just like stepping in like step by step, and I'm cursing the entire time. Like, fuck, it's cold.
Just the ultimate discomfort.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything else, any secret things I'm into or whatnot.
No, I was just like a little thing I was curious about.
I really like movies. But that's not spicy or anything, you know. I feel like it's not as cool as like,
that's really out there.
I'm really into coding. Like that's like, whoa.
That was a real one. That really spun me for a little.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. But I love movies. I try to watch not a movie. I wouldn't say I watch a movie every day, but I try to watch a movie as often as I can.
Yeah, I had a thing like that during the pandemic when I had nothing going on.
Oh yeah.
I was like, you know what? Let's do a movie a day.
Yeah.
And that's when I watched like, you know, I'm a film major. I've been into it all the time, but like, there's always, I mean, every person who's like into film has like those huge movies that they haven't watched. Like, have you seen this? Like, how haven't you seen that?
Or even a film major. Yeah,
exactly. And so that's when I cranked out a lot of those movies. Like I watched like The Shawshank Redemption and Schindler's List and shit.
Gotcha. So like the ones
all the ones that like
give you the pass for being a film major.
Exactly. Yeah. I had to check the boxes before I went to school.
Clockwork Orange, Pulp Fiction, all that. Those are movies that you see. Or,
you know, it's like I just went to the top 100 movies on IMDb and just said, okay, starting from number 1, go to number 100, I'll be set.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Yeah.
No, there's still so many. Like Clockwork Orange, I haven't watched that.
What?
Yeah.
Are you even a film? No, I'm fucking with you.
That's really good. I mean, it's impossible. There's so many movies, and everyone has different approaches, and so you're constantly gonna get like something like that.
Oh, you don't know this one?
Yeah, exactly.
No, most
definitely.
Yeah. It's the same with music. Like, oh, you're a fan of this artist? Have you heard this record?
Yeah, name
these
all
unreleased demos by them. Are you even into them?
Have you heard the songs they made 5 years ago under a different name? In their basement.
Yeah,
didn't think so.
Yeah.
So and I'm curious. I actually I hadn't listened to your older music as much recently, but I just went through and watched and listened to them like a week or two ago. Just to get like familiarized with them. And you know, I'm curious. You know, when you and we talked about how your discography can feel like a diary of some sorts, you know,
Yeah.
looking back at those first songs. And to an extent, you know, I feel the same way when I look back at my old episodes, like both in like production quality and like my performance, so to speak, or like the way I spoke. Like when you look back at those old music, do you think of it as like a product of the time? Do you think of it, or do you are you still like 100% like satisfied with it, like looking back at it?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. I honestly, you know, I look back to my music, you know, I guess, you know, Shimmer, I think back to, and I definitely think of it as a product at the time. It is not a project I would make now. Not to like shit on the project,
Not at
you
all.
know, because
Not at all.
I appreciate it, and I just hear just like such a younger version of myself.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a mixture of both. I feel like where I am satisfied that I was and like kind of proud of that I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And the work, because I know how much work that I put into it. But at the same time, it's also like it's a way to see how I've changed and grown.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I feel the same way. You know,
Yeah.
even just like 2 years ago, hearing like my voice has gotten like deeper since 2 years. And so listening back to me, I hear myself and I'm like, who the hell is that guy? And like some of the things I thought, like some of the ideas I held at the time, which are like very outdated now, it's like very interesting. But yeah, and I'm always tempted, like maybe I could just delete all those old episodes.
Yeah.
But I do see it as like a formative experience, like a necessary thing to be like where I'm at now, which where I'm at now, I'm like fairly satisfied with. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's just kind of the thing everyone has to grapple with.
Yeah. No, most definitely. And I'm sure I'll listen to my music. I'm sure I'll listen to Luna in 3 years and be like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's where I was at. You know what I mean?
And that shows progress.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right? I guess every few years you should be able to look back at who you were and think maybe like I'm glad I've improved upon that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean,
it's an interesting thing to think about. Like, I think you put it perfectly where it kind of feels like you're reading a diary and like a time capsule.
seriously.
I'll just think of it because it brings back memories and it reminds me of like little things that I remember. And like, because during the time when I made Shimmer, for example, to be kind of specific here, when I listen to that project now, I really think of like, because I was living in like rural Georgia at the time at my parents' house outside of Athens. And like when I hear that project now, I think of like driving at night in that area. And it just is very distinct vibe. It is very like it is
Oh man.
very specific. But yeah.
That sounds really like I can totally picture that, like driving in a place like that. That's it. Actually, yeah, you mentioned that at the beginning of the episode, but like growing up outside of Athens, going from there to Georgia State, that must have been an interesting shift.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually originally from Dallas, Texas.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I only lived in Athens for 4 years when I lived when I went through high school.
Okay.
But yeah, from growing up until age 14, I lived outside of Dallas.
That's sweet. I lived outside of Houston for years.
Oh wow, my sister lives in Houston now.
That's awesome. Yeah, my whole dad's side of the family lives there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, and I love Texas. Texas is awesome. My brother just moved to Dallas.
Okay, nice.
For his work. Crazy.
Yeah, I was from the Plano area. If you know.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you where I was from exactly.
Fair enough. Yeah.
No, I lived for like, when I did live in Houston for like 2 years or 3 years, I lived in like the very Vietnamese part of it, because that's where my grandma lived and moved when she came to the United States and all that. And so I couldn't tell you where it was exactly, but I lived in like that area. And so I remember growing up with that a little bit as a kid. But I enjoy Texas a lot. Like I like the people for the most part, and I love the food there. It's like kind of like top tier. I haven't been back in so long just because of the obvious. I haven't been like traveling a whole lot, and so no, but I do really enjoy Texas. Maybe that's just because I didn't grow up there. But
no, I have I look at it very nostalgically, and there's things about Texas I really appreciate, but I'm glad that I don't live in Texas anymore. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't trade where I'm at now for much. I enjoy living around here. I enjoy going to school downtown. I just think as much as I complain about all the things I have going on in my life, I definitely wouldn't trade it for the world. I definitely enjoy all of it, and but when you talk about like living outside of Athens and making music that like relates to that, I feel during the pandemic a lot, I would when I was just like at home all the time, a lot of times I would at like 2 a.m, I would hop in my car and I would just drive like an hour away in a straight line and then drive an hour back just to like clear my head.
Get out.
And there's a lot of like the music that I listened to at the time, like just like how I was talking about earlier, when I listen to that music now, it like vividly reminds me of like the times when I would do that. And so like that's just like one sort of thing on like the index of like musics that like bring back vivid memories. And
Absolutely.
honestly, like just driving around at night, especially in like, and I would drive like east most of the time, so I'd end up in like close to like Cumming, Georgia, before I would
Gotcha.
turn around. And
Gotcha. That's
would,
a hike. That's a
yeah.
a hike.
Well, I would use it to like clear my head, because at the time I was going through a lot, and so and just of course like being, you know, in the situation that we all were in, like it was just very difficult, and so I would use that as a way to like clear my head. Just because to a certain extent, you know, at that point in my life, I feel like I didn't have control over a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't have control over the things going on around me. And I guess I should say I was doing that even when I was still in school, like before March 2020 and then into it. I feel like I didn't have a control over a lot of the things in my life. And so one thing that I always took solace in that I could control was just like my car. Like I can drive this car. This is like mine. And so, and I can go wherever I want as long as I have the gas to get there. And so, that was something that I did as like a comfort. To like feel like I could like take control of something in my life.
Most definitely. Yeah, especially during that time. I'm sure that was really important.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough for all of us, you know. But did you ever consider, you know, going to UGA instead of Georgia State, or was it never a question in your head?
Definitely earlier, I think, when I was younger, I definitely thought about it for a while. But I think by the point that I was turning 18 and I was getting ready to, honestly, even earlier than that, I think by the time I was a junior in high school, I was like, I got to get the hell out of, the Athens area. I love Athens now, but living outside of Athens, it was like 20 minutes from where I lived to get to downtown Athens, which I really love downtown Athens. It's a cool place. Yeah. But we were just like in the sticks, you know what I mean? In the middle of nowhere. And I was just definitely ready to move somewhere else. And I remember I toured GSU and I was like, that's got to be where I want to live in a city, just be in the city and have things to do. And I definitely can relate to that. Well, I guess I can relate to it in a certain sense, but in reality, like I really dragged my feet all throughout high school. My last 2 years as to where to go to school. And so I only ever applied to one place, which was Georgia State. And I thought about applying to other places, but then they were like, you're accepted. And I was like, cool. Nice.
And I had never been to Georgia State before I attended. And so,
so
last school year was my first year like back like in person, and first day was my first time on campus, and I was like, man, this shit is confusing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of friends who went there, but I'd never gone myself. I just sort of went there because I mean, like at the time, like I just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and so I just thought, okay, they accepted me, I'll go and I'll just like figure it out. But and so it took me a while to sort of find like a niche and to find like stuff to do. And that manifested itself in like, you know, working at this newspaper and like, you know, being friends with people and stuff like that.
Yeah. I hear you totally. Yeah. That's kind of crazy you mentioned that, because I do know some people that were like, I never saw GSU before I just started coming here. I'm like, that's crazy. Yeah. Cause I was applying to several places. I applied to UNG, Georgia College. I was going to apply to UGA, and I was talking to my parents. And my parents, I remember my mom said to me, look, Aiden, if you got accepted to UGA, would you go? And I was like, no. And she's like, don't apply. I was like, all right, that's fair. Yeah. But and then I got accepted to GSU, and I was like, that's the one.
That's solid. Yeah. That's cool.
Oh.
So, you know, not growing up, but living outside of Athens for as long as you did, you know, did you find that difficult to just thinking about like what that region like is kind of like, you know, did you find it difficult living around there and making music at the time and sort of figuring out who you were and what?
Yeah, absolutely. I was I'm very happy I don't go to high school out there anymore. It was it was a tough time. I was around a lot of really problematic people, and I'm glad that I've grown. And just that if I think about the things I used to hear or things that people used to say to me or about me, it's really gross to think about, you know, and it's nice to, you know, I've moved past that. But with that being said, I also did meet a lot of amazing people there. So friends that I still have today. It's just, you know, and it's nice to visit there now because, you know, my parents live out there, and it's really cool to just, you know, it's like an hour drive, go out there and be in the middle of nowhere and just like see my parents, and it's, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's nice to go out there.
Definitely, yeah. I'm sure there's a certain comfort in going out to a place like that, especially when you live in the city all the
Exactly.
time.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I've been spending before when I went to school, it would really like my first semester going to campus. It was really just go to campus, take your classes, and come back. And it wasn't until I got more involved with like people, started making friends, started working at the newspaper that I like started like essentially like living down there like part time, so to speak. And even just doing that, like I definitely can appreciate the quiet of like the suburbs and like the rural area compared to the city, because man, that the city can be crazy sometimes.
It's very fast paced,
Yeah.
and you can feel it, and sometimes you're fine, and then I found myself feeling very overwhelmed. Yeah.
Well, it's good to have a place you can go to get away from that.
Exactly.
Yeah, because not everyone has that, and there are some people that have to sort of suffer through that.
Yeah. No, I'm extremely fortunate for the situation I have and the relationship that I have with my parents.
Yeah, that's something that in recent months I have come to really appreciate. Just like more so than I think I ever have. Just like my relationship with my family and all that, because I found that, I mean, it's obvious, but I found that like not everyone has the exact same relationship with their parents, or relationship with their family as I do, and so seeing that has made me really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I couldn't be more thankful for that. But man, Athens, yeah, sound effects. My younger sister, who just graduated high school, she's going to UGA as a freshman.
Gotcha.
And I drove her down there. I helped her move in, and that was another thing where like my siblings, we had grown up together. Like we're pretty like close in age, the four of us, and we're pretty tight knit, and so we had just grown up and like just like having us as a constant, and so it like never felt like, I think maybe because we were always together for so much, like I didn't realize how much I guess like how important they were to me. And so like it's like taking my younger sister to like UGA and like moving her into her dorm for the first time, and then leaving her there. Like I remember like because of this like sort of realization I've come to recently, like this appreciation for my family, I was like, wow, that's like, I never thought that it would like affect me as much as it did, but it was interesting. Do you have siblings?
I do. I've just an older sister.
Uh-huh.
She's the one that lives in Houston.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we're fairly close. I think we're as close as we can be with how different our lives are. She lives in Houston. I go to school in Atlanta. Yeah. She's full-time employed, very busy, but yeah, and 6 years apart. But yeah, I love her a lot.
Yeah. That's cool. I have 5 siblings in total, 6 of us in total. And that's just because, my family's Mormon. We grew up in Utah most of my life. So, just kid after kid after kid.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But it's actually been interesting because my girlfriend, Rose, she also has like 5 siblings who are like all like similar age, like similar breakdowns to my siblings. And so, and she's from like southern Georgia, from Brunswick. And it's just very, very interesting dynamic there. But man, it was interesting. It took me a while to settle in. Whenever you, especially having new people on, it like takes me a minute. My friend co-host Parsa expresses the same thing. It takes a minute to like settle in to that, and it took me a lot longer than it usually does to do that this time for some reason, probably just because outside factors and all that. But but you know
usually
what?
Get nervous during your shows, if you don't mind me asking.
No, I mean, I'll be candid about that. I do, and that's really, and that's something that's been interesting with this like new format we have, because we used to have 4 co-hosts, and every episode we would just have the 4 of us or any combination of us talking, and there was sort of like a comfort in that, like in knowing who you'd be talking to on a given day. And we rarely have guests on, and so switching to this format where we only want to have guests on, I didn't think it'd be easy, but like it has been a little difficult just settling in.
I could imagine.
And doing that, but yeah, I don't know. I do think it is a thing. I just need to like change the schedule of some things behind the scenes. Because I front load a lot of my work, my weekly work at the beginning of the week, and then I end up having nothing to do.
I know the
on
feeling.
The tail end.
Same.
But yeah. But you know what, Caughy, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. honestly, that flew by. I had a really nice time chatting.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, me too. Me too. And it goes without yeah, thank you for bearing with me, I should say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just settling into all that. But no, I really appreciated you coming on. It was a pleasure having you on. I just it's interesting because putting having music that I listen to all the time and music that I really like, and then having the person who makes that come and sit across from me, it's like I don't want to shine you up too much and make it sound like I'm fanboying over here, but no, it's really cool experience. And,
Absolutely.
And so I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate all the kind words you said about the music, and it means a lot that you like my work. But it's been a really fun time. It's an honor.
Yeah, I know. We'll have to do this again. Hopefully next time, it'll be just that much better.
Yeah.
But thank you all for listening to this episode of the Floor 26 podcast. I'll see you back here next week, but until then, have a great day.
Sick.